think we have everybody in here that was in the waiting room. So thank you so much for coming to our Club Caddy Chronicles today. My name is Nicole Chapman. I'm the Director of Training and Education here, and I will be your moderator. Just to begin, we do have a question section of this webinar. So if you'd like to post a question to our wonderful Allison to answer at the end, we will reserve 15 minutes to answer some of your questions, anything you'd like to know. And we'll reserve that time. So feel free to enter those there. And moving on, I'm going to start with introducing Knight. Knight, go
Awesome.
ahead.
Thanks, Nicole. Welcome, everybody. Happy to have you with us today. Before we get started, I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't give a proper introduction to our guest. Many of you know the name, but Allison George has the best title in this industry. She's the Wizard of Fun at her family's golf course in Iowa. Having grown up on the golf course, there aren't many jobs that she hasn't performed. From picking up garbage, mowing fairways, to working the snack bar, and ultimately to her current role as general manager. She's helped to grow her family's business by introducing programs to the public and staying up to date with content marketing. Allison has served on the National Golf Course Owners Association board since 2007. Over the last 20 years, she's spoken all across North America at various conferences, sharing ideas and how-to plans to help golf courses grow their number of rounds, increase their database size, and grow revenue. Allison won 8th Most Innovative Person in Golf in 2010 and was the recipient of the Don Rossi Award in 2021, which is a national award given to those who have made a significant contribution in the golf industry. In 2023, Allison was one of the first 10 women to receive the Hilda Allen Award, which recognizes influential women in the golf industry. She regularly consults industry leaders and is currently working with the national board on how to bring more women and children to the game. She's been married to her husband, Kelly, for 27 years and has 2 sons and a daughter. And I'd be remiss not to mention her birthday is this upcoming Easter Sunday, so be sure to send her some well wishes. That being said, welcome, Allison.
Thank you.
Very happy to have you here today. Looking forward to a really detailed conversation about your background, digging into the weeds on what you've done that's really driven innovation and success for you and your facilities. But to start off, I'm curious, when did you know that you wanted to be in the golf industry?
Well, I have kind of a strange growing up, I guess, but I have fostered a love for golf my entire life. When I was 2 years old, I started helping my dad change cups. And so I was the cup setter. So I had my little trusty tool and so it just really kind of all started from there. I started, I really did pick up garbage for years. I actually paid for my college with cans. So even to this day, we have golfers out at our golf course and, they reminisce about watching me, grow up on the course. It's kind of cool because now they watch my kids grow up. But I started when I was 7, picking up garbage on the golf course was my first job and moving the tee markers. And then we didn't sell alcohol. And so I actually started working at the snack bar when I was 9. And I got in trouble with my aunt because I was really tired and I took a nap like in the floor of the pro shop and I got yelled at. Anyway, I just have always had a love for golf, which really has kind of turned in more of a love for the business of golf. I enjoyed playing golf, but I really love the business of golf because probably the thing I love most is hearing people laugh and bringing joy. And I really love that opportunity. I think it's a really interesting industry that we probably don't recognize enough, that it's not like we're dentists. People come to have fun. And so my all-time favorite thing to do is just to have the windows open in my office and hear laughter. So just before I came on the webinar, we just had a hole-in-one. And, so I was running a little bit late because, we were high-fiving and he's, reminiscing and, it was his 6th hole-in-one, but everyone's, high-fiving and we give out trophies. And I am addicted to that. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, my green grass days, I'll always say that the best office I've ever had was the golf course, right? No matter how frustrated, how stuck, or whatever's happening throughout your day, jump in a golf cart, go spin around the golf course, talk to everybody, right, that are out there having the time of their life. There's nothing that can turn your day around and change your perception.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's the ultimate honor to have your name, your golf course mentioned in an obituary, because you're thinking, I always think, man, I was so important that it was worthy of being mentioned in the obituary, and this little tiny paragraph that, each word, costs $5 a piece. So it's just, it's an honor. I love the business. So.
Very true. And so that being said, right, one of the things, you've been celebrated far and wide, again, all across North America, not just the US, but into Canada, for your creative marketing strategies. Could you share some examples of unique promotions or campaigns that you've used at your facilities?
I do a lot of weird stuff. It's kind of strange. I wouldn't call myself celebrated. People ask me a lot of questions, but all of my ideas stem from, taking out a loan as a 26-year-old to buy out my family. And so I had a really big loan that I had to pay. Plus I had a familial obligation to make sure I didn't lose, my family's course. And so I have just always tried to push the envelope of, what can I do to, be profitable. So I wouldn't call any of them out there. I think at the time they may have been out there. One of the things that, we're very well known for is that, we welcome families, women and children. I have lots of, parents in particular that'll say, you are the only golf course that I feel welcome. And I take great pride in that. Almost all of the things that I did was because I had small children at the time, and we would go out and play 2 or 3 holes of golf, and we would go to a baseball game. And, after the baseball game, we get out by, 8 o'clock or something like that. And we would come home and play 2 or 3 holes of golf with our kids. And then the parents that I'd be sitting next to in the, the bleachers would be like, man, I kind of wish I could do that. It must be nice, to have a golf course in your backyard. And so one of the first things I did was, and this is metamorphosized over the last 20 years, but I did this price where if you had an entire foursome, the price would slowly go down per person. So at that time I did, this is 20 years ago. So I charged us $40 for a tea time. This is after 7:30 at night. And so if you were only one person, you paid $40. If you were 4 people, you paid $40. And the whole idea behind it was that I really wanted people to teach their kids to play golf. And so over the time, what ultimately ended up happening was it also attracted people who, drank and wrecked golf carts. And so I've changed all of that over the years to try and curb that, while also, being true to myself that I wanted to provide a place for people to be able to teach their kids how to play golf. Because when you think about sports, almost every other sport, the person who introduces it is a parent. Basketball, it's done in the backyard. And, football, it's done in the backyard. They're all done in the backyard except for golf. It's kind of hard to teach golf in your backyard. And so that was kind of one of the big things that I've always done. It's been super successful. The first year, I think we made like $13,000 charging $40 for a tea time. So, and even to this day, we have tea times go all the way till, 8:30 at night. So, it's made it so I don't really have an unbusy time. And we modify the pace of play through our pricing strategies, because I learned I'm always experimenting. I'm not really afraid to trash my tee sheet, I guess, because I just play around with like, okay, well, people do this, will people do this? I've done like weird things. I always tell people I really need a webinar on all my failures, because one time I was trying to kind of like maximize my tee sheet, and because we had a bunch of people who really loved doing our couples night. And so I tried doing like this is before signups were easily attainable like they are now. It would probably be a lot easier to do this now. But back then I was taking that all over the phone and trying to do this random pairing of couples. And it ended up being a complete failure. I went back to just doing tea times. And so it's kind of fun right now. My daughter is now coming on and she's like, hey, let's try this. And I'm like, well, I tried that 20 years ago and it didn't work, but let's try it again. You know, maybe it works now. So it's been kind of fun for me. So kids is a big thing. I also have a giant ladies program. And for my ladies program, I being a female myself and knowing how golf is intimidating, I try, like a big portion of our ladies program is to remove that intimidation barrier. So we, we teach them, one of our first lessons, we teach them like how to put their bag on. Because a lot of people, they don't ever adjust their straps after they buy their bag. And so a lot of women like carry their bag like a purse. And so, we teach them that. We teach them like how to put their clubs in their carts and really try and dumb it down and make them feel very comfortable to ask questions that they would never ask somewhere else. Where do they put on shoes? They don't know how to make a tea time. And so we go through all those things, we go through different lingo. One of my other failures, my very first time I did my ladies' night out, we went over like parts of a club because I was trying to, make them knowledgeable. And if you just kind of think about parts of the club, you can imagine that tanked really quickly and did not go very well. There was way too many innuendos. And I was like, okay, we'll not be going over this again. So anyway, but the ladies program overall is huge. And then I've got about 7 instructors. We do over 100 women a year. Then the instructors play golf with them afterwards. So all of those types of things have been, really positive as far as the golf goes. And then it just kind of all continues growing because, then I just noticed that when we have those types of things, then it lends itself to, oh, hey, I've got a bunch of women who come out here. And so it makes sense for me to, show them that I've got a place where I can have, a bridal suite or a bachelorette party. And, so everything just kind of snowballs, one by one. I definitely did not, what I do now is not what I had planned to do 20 years ago.
It's incredible. Very incredible. So following up to that, like most people that worked within golf course operations, myself included, right? I've dipped my hands into marketing. Quickly realized that there is a lot that goes into executing a marketing strategy, marketing campaign. With everything else in your day-to-day, how do you manage to stay organized?
Yeah, so that's probably the question I get asked the most because when I speak, I often show people what my calendar looked like in 2007 versus what my calendar looked like now. And I tell it's no different than what I tell my kids. When there's a giant project, you got it. That's how you eat an elephant. You take it one bite at a time. And so, first of all, if you're just getting started in marketing, don't try to be like me because you will fall on your face. And so I always tell people, pick just one thing to do a month and build out what that looks like and what is the marketing of what you do for that one event. We do weird things like, I've got like a turning thing on my, am I paused? Does they can still hear me, right?
Can hear
okay.
you.
Just making sure. Anyway, so I do a bunch of strange things. I don't do normal golf outings because everybody does the same thing. And so we do a craft beer open. We have some breweries and we do beer samples on every other hole. We also have a crappy beer open. I do this at the end of the season because that's how I lower my beer inventory. So all of the stuff that towards the end of the year that I had trouble pushing, last year it was Bud Light. A lot of the crappy beer was Bud Light. But Anyway, so stuff that's getting ready to expire and I need to lower my inventory going into my off season. We do this crappy beer open. And basically everybody gets a 6-pack with their thing. We do a superintendent's revenge where, they have all kinds of silly things out on the course. We do a bad pants open. So we give awards for people that are dressed, have really bad golf pants. I have a mustache classic. So we give awards we have whiskey samples and, we give away cigars and then, the people with the best mustaches, get awards. So just do like different things like that. We do different formats. I guess in 2 weeks, we have a Masters tournament and it's a par 3 course one. So we set up tee markers as though it's a par 3. And then we do, it's a 1-person scramble. So they get a mulligan on every hole. And so that just kind of a fun format. Okay. And so what I do is I kind of plan out. So the first year I would just, plan out whatever, 6 different events. They can be golf outings, wine tasting, we've done all kinds of different stuff, wine tasting, painting. They have like those paint and things. We've had people where they arrange wreaths at Christmas time. We also do, we call it Field of Screams. So we're fortunate. We have a miniature golf course as well. So one night we have Field of Screams on the miniature golf and it's kind of more designed for kids. And then we have Field of Screams after hours, which is more of like a party. And then we have them go through like a forest on the golf course and jump out and scare people. So anyway, we do, you just do a lot of different things. Pick something to do each month. Okay. And then you're going to take that marketing event and you're going to build out what that looks like. So for me, every time I start a new event, I create its own branding. And I create the branding in a Facebook event format or a blog title format. And that's kind of a rectangle format. And so I use that on most of my marketing. So I'll use it in my email. I'll use it on my web calendar. I use it in the marketing around the golf course. But then I also change that same format to be able to be used, on LinkedIn, Instagram story, and a post. It's so annoying to me that every single picture has to be reformatted. I mean, it's so dumb, but whatever, you thank God for Canva. It's just a quick, easy convert, right? So I use Asana to keep me organized. And so inside of Asana, I'll just kind of take what I do. Let's say what I'm doing for the Masters tournament. Okay. So inside of Asana, I have links to those Canva, those things that I created in Canva. That way from one year to the next, I don't have to search Canva. I can just click in there and I quickly find it. And then underneath the marketing of the Masters tournament, I have every single thing that I do. It goes through a series of marketing executions. So there's a Facebook event created. I'm also bitter about that because you used to be able to schedule Facebook events and now you can't. And it's so irritating to me, but that's another story. Anyway, so we do a Facebook event. We do a Facebook post, usually more than one. We do an Instagram story. We do an Instagram post. We do a LinkedIn post. I put something in a Google Calendar, so it's easily accessible for my staff. I put something on a web calendar, which is inside of my website. I have a short amount of copy that I do for an app so that we can send out a push notification inside the app. And I think, and then an email. Okay. And so every single thing that we do those things for that. And so inside of Asana, I have all of that stored. So I'll have links to all those photos, and then I have the copy inside of there. And so what's nice about this is that I started doing this a long time ago. And so it's easy when you're only doing 12 events. And so you do 12 events this year. And then next year you do maybe 18 events. but you're constantly reusing the same copy, the same images from one year to the next. And so it gets easier and easier as you go. And when you're super organized like this, so this is what my secret weapon is that I don't actually do all of it anymore. So, and because it is all, I did create it from the beginning, but I don't do any of the scheduling. I don't do any of that. And I train people. And because it is very systematic, it is very easy to train and have someone execute it. So I seem to have like somebody every year who executes for me. My current year, I'm really spoiled. My daughter's boyfriend is studying marketing, and so he's who executed all of my marketing this year. And he did it all over winter break, and then all of it was just right there. You just copy paste, download the image, adjust the date, and it was really easy. So, but that's I made it sound easy, but
for sure.
So Allison, it sounds like you put a lot of trust into building a great team. How do you know when and what to delegate to the team to, make your life easier?
So I try and delegate as much as I can. I've been complimented on my ability to delegate. So in the last 3 years, I've kind of had a strange life, which has taught me life lessons, and that you can pretty much delegate almost everything you do. And it's allowed me to release things. 3 years ago, I was hit in the face by a golf ball, and I broke my face, and I've had 8 facial reconstructive surgeries. And while I was going through all of that, my husband got a blood clot in his leg, and eventually his foot died. And so he ended up having to have his leg amputated. And so the two of us have had a lot of health problems. He also one-upped me and had to have a heart attack last year too. So anyway, I told him we can be done competing with number of surgeries. But what it really taught me is that the place isn't going to burn down without me. And I've spent enough time making systems and training staff that I can observe from a distance whether or not it's going well. And the easiest way for me to observe is how many compliments I get and whether or not I get good reviews. I don't really tell my superintendent what to do. I don't have to, because if I am getting a compliment constantly, I know he is doing his job. And so I just kind of put trust in that. As far as teenagers, I've hired plenty of duds, but I can usually tell within 15 minutes of training them if they're going to be good or not. And so usually the ones that within 15 minutes of training, they're not good, then they magically don't get as many hours. Anyway, that's kind of, I've learned over the last 3 years, just mostly because I was put into a position that I had to trust my team, that as long as I am organized, so, we have weekly meetings, we go over all these things in what's coming up. And then, I worked really hard in my off season so that my busy season is executed smoothly. So that we're really just kind of taking things, like, oh, hey, that thing we planned, last winter, it's coming up next week. So I don't know if I answered that question or not, but you just have to trust. You just have to trust people and let those reins go just a little bit.
It makes sense, right? And it sounds like, a lot of times they're the driver on, their ambition, their desire to do more. If they want it, you're going to know that. It's incredible.
It shows up very, very quickly.
For sure. And I'm sure anybody and everybody that's listening in on this can understand and appreciate that. So a lot of the examples you gave, right, around some of the events that you do, some of the tournaments that you're running, there is no doubt your title is the Wizard of Fun. but it seems like creativity comes naturally to you, right? And there are a lot of people out there like me that are creative illiterate, don't know where to start, right? Don't know what to do. So what advice would you give to someone who might be stuck on, what to do and when?
So I listened to, it was at a golf conference, and the best advice I ever heard was steal great ideas and call them your own. So, we live in an era that it's really easy to steal other people's ideas. I know that probably sounds bad if we're, talking about copyright issues or things like that. So I'm not telling you to like steal copyright, just steal the concept and then make it be your own. So I don't personally think any of my ideas are anything that I actually came up with from scratch. It's just from observation. So every time I go anywhere, I'm just always looking. So when I go to, and then I'm always thinking, how can I apply that to golf, right? This is kind of fun. So, how can I apply that to golf? I go to Disney World and, we did breakfast with the princesses, right? And, I'm watching, this goes back to, the reason I love golf. I love bringing joy to people. And so when I am observing, oh, look at all these people who are really enjoying that. How can I bring that to the golf course? That's basically what I'm just constantly observing and stealing ideas from other people. So, the breakfast with the princesses, what that looks like at the golf course is now we do breakfast with Santa. So, and we do something simple, it's just donuts and scrambled eggs. But then we have, I call them reindeer games because that just seems natural. Right. And so, we have a cookie bar set up and we have, reindeer food set up. So there's, glitter and fake snow and, brown sugar and oatmeal, and they make little, bags, for reindeers. And, because I do stuff like that, what happens over time is people want my family business to succeed. And so I do. So right now, my entire family is at the golf course. Thank you for this webinar because I got out of this job. But we are packing 10,000 Easter eggs. We are on Saturday night. We have a flashlight Easter egg hunt. Okay, so this is a good example of what I do. So Easter egg hunt is not, everybody does Easter egg hunts, right? And so my Allison spin is like, how can I have it like a little bit more fun than, your average Easter egg hunt? And so I just started this last year, and I bet I had 500 people at it. It was absolutely insane how many people came to this Easter egg hunt. Why? Because it was just a little bit different. Having the flashlight is a little, it's pretty fun. We more than made up the amount of, we spent money on, candies and eggs, but more than made up the money through, selling, we sell pizzas. And so, they came, they ate supper and they played mini golf. And then, they all sat around and waited for it to get dark enough to go do the Easter egg hunt. And then also they come and continue to, use my facility because we had this free Easter egg hunt that was loads of fun. And so that's kind of, I just take little ideas like that and, I steal them from somebody and then put my own little spin on it. So prime example. So I just started this league of, it's called an I Love Pizza League. Okay. And this is just, everyone's like, man, I just love your pizza. I'm like, you know what? I need to have a league where the actual purpose of the league is to eat the pizza. And so I've got this league where we just built a Toptracer facility. So I wouldn't do this at the normal golf course, but they play their league round at the Toptracer, but a small pizza is also included. And so just like little things like that. And those are the things that I'm really not afraid of trying, because even though I've never heard of a I Love Pizza League, I live and die by fake it till you make it. So I just pretend like I know what I'm doing all the time. And most of the time it works out okay.
So Allison, I have a quick question on that, because I'm so curious. I came from a country club background, and one of the biggest fears that I feel like people run into is for these events, like trying to do a really great event, is losing money on them, right? They're so protective and they're so scared that if they spend a lot, they may lose it if no one comes. What's good advice for that? Trying to combat that feeling of like, they're spending a lot to make it quality.
So I personally think it's a lot easier now than it once was. So I've done plenty of things where I've lost my butt. And it's, it was not fun. But nowadays with social media, it's so much less expensive to advertise. 10, 15 years ago, I would, actually, take out commercials, or I would do direct mail, which was extremely expensive. And so we used to do these, we called them a Greens and Blues Fest, where we had a blues band that played on the greens. And because, back then social media wasn't like what it is now, you had to actively market it. And so now it's just so much easier, because, so what I do is I join all my local Facebook groups. I don't spam them. I try to be a good citizen. But it's the best place actually to get ideas of what is needed. So prime example is I started managing a second golf course about 3 years ago. And I joined that community's Facebook group because even though I've lived where I live my entire life, I have not lived in this other small town. And I know absolutely nothing about this small town. And I thought, you know what, I need to join that Facebook group so that, I don't even know what they need. And all they were doing was complaining about how the city didn't have its own fireworks show. And I was like, I need to have a fireworks show. And then I looked up at how expensive, a fireworks show was. And I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have a fireworks show. But then I thought, you know what, that's what this city needs. And they need to know that me as a new manager of this golf course, I'm all in. I need to build that same relationship with them that I've built at my family's course. And so I ripped off the Band-Aid. It was very scary because let me tell you, if you've ever done professional fireworks, they are not cheap. And but I was thinking, okay, if I even if I just come out even, I think, in the long term, it will be beneficial to me. And so I went on ahead and I planned this within 2 weeks because it was we took over very quickly, and it was immediately like 4th of July was there. And so I planned it on an off day so I wouldn't be competing with another small town. And we sold, burgers and drinks and those types of things. And I kid you not, there were, and then I had inflatables. And we more than made up for how much we spent in fireworks and in the selling the drinks and the burgers. And so then I thought, okay, well, it's fun. That was rewarding. But in the end, I also want to make money, right? Because otherwise I may as well just be volunteering. I could have sat at home and not worked that hard and made the exact same amount of money, right? So the following year, I was like, okay, I need to get, so now I have proof, I had 200 people here this year. I need some, sponsors. And so I started selling sponsors. And so then, now we have it where it says, fireworks show, sponsored by XYZ Bank. And we have a band that comes so then I had them make announcements. So it was a good, sponsorship. And so last year I actually made money. but it wasn't that much. Once again, when you're working really hard, I really want to make more than $500. And so I have a 3-year rule. So I try things for 3 years, and if I can't make the amount of money that I want, then I stop. Unless they're total bomb the first year, then I don't do it at all, because then that's a. But things like this particular fireworks thing is a prime example of that. You have to invest in the future and then keep your eye on the marathon that you're running, because over time all of my little $500 ideas have turned into $1 million, but it's $500 here, $500 there, $500 here, $1,000 here. It's a bunch of little tiny things. And so, this year I am tweaking it a little bit more to, because last year, the second year of my fireworks, I bet we had 600 people there. It was completely insane. But then this is me, my little marketing brain. I'm like, 600 people that have probably never been to the golf course. I got to give something away, because I need them to fill out a form to give me their email and their name, and so that I can continue marketing to them. And so, I gave away a season, half of a season pass, which, and we got, 300 names from people that wanted to do that. And then I also gave away a free entry into a junior golf clinic. And so, now I've got a, big, long list of my junior golfers. So that makes this year even easier, because, I've added these extra names to my database. I know who my junior golfers are. And so now I can, build a program on that. So I'm always trying. I don't mind in the first 2 years. This is why I have a 3-year rule. If in my first 2 years of it, I am at least building my database, I view that as actually making quite a bit of money, because I can turn around and market to them other types of things. So I definitely value their information, and view that kind of, I figure that's kind of like them giving me a $20 bill. So.
Oh, sorry, go on, Knight.
Go ahead, Nicole.
I was going to say, I wanted to touch on a few points just to recap some of these really important things that you're saying. So one of the tools that I think maybe some operators don't know is something like Canva, which is a very easy marketing tool. And you mentioned it. And I wanted to highlight it just for a second, because I think sometimes people get really nervous about marketing, or they're still in programs. For everyone out there, Canva is a fantastic program for design, and it does it for you. So that was one point you made. And then making systems and processes, you mentioned that. And I think, it's easier to say it like that, but it's hard to create, right? And setting that. So that's another key point. Trusting your team, going to Facebook groups and really getting involved in some of the local Facebook groups. And then to the biggest point you just said, collecting that information, collecting that data for people. I think that's something that operators kind of get remiss about sometimes. Like they don't know how to do that, or they don't know the best way, or they feel sheepish to do that. But to your point, like that information alone is worth so much in the long run. And so again, collecting it, how are you collecting it, and building those structures, I think are sometimes harder to grasp. But I want to just touch on those points and kind of reiterate, because I was like, oh, these are so important, like huge takeaways. So sorry to interrupt. Knight, it's all yours.
Yeah. No, you're good. And Canva, yeah, for anybody that hasn't used Canva, I used it to, again, not creative, not at all. I used it to design and build my daughter's birthday party invitation. There are a ton of templates you can search and find, work that has been created that, again, you can take, you can put a spin on it, make it your own. A tool that if you haven't used, use it. You're going to make your life easier. So kind of shifting gears, you brought up Toptracer, right? So it's also pretty widely known that you've been an innovator when it comes to adopting new emerging technologies throughout the golf industry. So what are the things that you look for to determine if an up and coming or new technology is a good fit for your operation?
I should preface that I would probably have never done Toptracer. So my Toptracer facility is about a $2 million facility. It's 6,000 square feet indoor space. It's got bathrooms and we serve food and that kind of stuff in there. And it's 10 heated bays. We've got big comfy couches. Even though $2 million is a lot of money, it's not a lot of money to Topgolf. So I kind of describe it as a poor man's Topgolf. So we have lit targets, and we're in the process of putting up netting. And so it's a pretty major investment. Could I have done a cheaper version of Toptracer? Absolutely. And if I lived in the South, I absolutely would. I think last webinar you had Don Ray on, and so Don Ray is a very good friend of mine. And so he and Kathy Harbin and Del Ratcliffe were the three people I called okay, I'm thinking about doing Toptracer. Is this dumb? What do you think? They all cheat because they're in the South. So it's 10 times less expensive to do it when you're in the South. But anyway, so back to your original question. I decided, so I'm in Iowa, and what I was really looking for is a way to overcome the challenges of the seasonality of the business. And because it doesn't just slow down, it just stops. And I hated the stress primarily of paying my property taxes in March. Because I'm having to cough up, 75 grand at the end of the winter. Like, it's the worst. And I just would lose sleep over it constantly. And so I was like, how do we become a year-round business? And I originally was doing it through these types of events. I described our Santa event. We do the Field of Screams, which is, a miniature golf and Halloween event. And those things were working, but they weren't working as well as I wanted. And so in 2020, I decided I would put in some indoor simulators. I actually converted my pro shop and I got rid of my pro shop. I know this is really controversial, but I got rid of my pro shop. And now I have one cupboard that sells as much as my entire pro shop used to. So it was just wasted square foot. And so I converted my pro shop into 2 indoor simulators. And it did not take me very long to figure out, I paid for that within 6 months of it opening. And I was thinking, man, I probably should have put in more than just 2 indoor simulators, but that is all the bigger my pro shop was. And so then I started kind of playing around with, do I want to add on to my clubhouse? How do I want to, I need more of these. And I am fortunate that I'm just outside of Des Moines. I'm not sure what it's not like, I'm not like in Podunk, Iowa, where, there's 300 people in it's a pretty big city. Okay. And the other thing is that they're golfers also. So Iowa they're known for golfers. I think it's like 27% of the population play golf, which is pretty high. And I want to say Des Moines is, upward, maybe close to 750,000, in the greater Des Moines area. I have people around me. Okay. So, but I'm fortunate that I live on the side of town that for whatever reason, everyone always goes to the west side. But on the east side, there's a lot of people that live over here. We just don't have stuff to do. And so, I was very fortunate in my location. And so the simulators, immediately took off. And so I started kind of researching a little bit more and more. And I called friends in the industry who have Toptracer. I toured multiple Toptracer facilities, and it was easier for me to come up with a pro forma because I wasn't guessing at the numbers. And so I took what I do in my simulators And I kind of made it be, I figured the Toptracer facility rather, because the simulators really bring in business maybe 5 months of the year if I'm lucky. And so I thought, okay, if I can get something that is maybe pulling 9 to 10 months of the year, and it does about, I figured a 50% capacity is kind of what I was going off of. And so I just started playing around with numbers of like, what do I think I'm capable of? What is the simulators doing? And then basing all of that on the location where I am and the number of golfers. And so those were all of the things that I kind of made a commitment to and decided to do the Toptracer. And then I spent almost 2 years of just, I'm telling you, getting the permitting and, but we did it. Anyway, so that was actually harder than anything, is trying to get people to understand what I was building, because it's essentially a gigantic Morton building with 10 garage doors, and then but it's heated, so each bay is heated and the inside of it is heated, and so it was very hard for my county to kind of wrap their brain around what I was building. And so, but we got there. It was an enormous amount of patience. And then of course, now I'm post-COVID. So building the simulators, when I built the simulators, we remodeled, we put a little bit of, added some height to our ceilings in the pro shop. And so it wasn't like without remodeling. But that whole process took maybe 2 months. It was boom, we were done. But that was in the middle of COVID when it was still easy to get stuff. I was, probably 2 months. If I had made the decision 2 months later, it would have been, a year project. So I was really fortunate with that. So, but, now it's just, it's not even so much supplies as there are so few electricians and plumbers and laborers who are able to do that work. That's really what I struggled with the most, is just getting the time to get on people's schedules. So that's what was made later difficult. In the grand scheme of things, though, once we finally broke ground, it took about 7 months to build this facility. So anyway, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of why. If I didn't have the simulators, I would have never done Toptracer, because I would have never in a million years felt comfortable taking out, a big loan like that. But the simulators, kind of taught me, what I was capable of. And if I could do it on a little bit bigger scale, then I think I would be amazing. And so far it's been super successful. The best part about the Toptracer is that it's so much less expensive to run than a golf course. I can, it does, like, so now granted, like I said, I live in Iowa. So, but I've had a couple of weekends where the Toptracer does more money than the golf course, because even though the golf course is bringing in more money, you have to pay, it takes 10 times more staff. And it takes, I'm paying for fungicide. I'm paying for, now, they were driving when it's, snowy and whatnot. And so, we're fixing this and we're fixing that. And the Toptracer doesn't have some of those hard costs. And so there's just different things about the business that have been interesting to me to kind of play around with. But I think the thing that's most fascinating is that even though it is still under the umbrella of our golf course, it's like it's totally different business. And so, there's different nuances about it that even, we use Club Caddy, obviously. And, when I'm inside and I'm running just regular golf, I rarely use the, table feature and split it into seats and, those types of, I don't usually use that for snack bar. It's just not necessary. I use it all the time when I'm at the Toptracer. So it's really interesting how you need different things. It's just a kind of a completely different business, a totally different vibe. And I would encourage most golf courses. I think even right now, when I'm talking to golfers, I've noticed there's a lot of these small they're basically a bar with a simulator in it. I don't know how many of these are going to actually make it, just because there is something to be said to going to the golf course, even if you're going to play in the simulators or going to Toptracer. There's like this vibe that you're an actual golfer. And I know this because I even have my golfers talk about it. They're like, I don't know why, but when I come to your place, even though it's the same as going to, the bar on the west side that has the simulators, I actually feel like I'm golfing. And that's because they're at a golf course. We're kind of fortunate for that. I've also noticed I've joined quite a few of these golf business simulator Facebook groups, and they have no idea what they're doing. I mean, and they don't know how to run leagues. They don't know how to run tournaments, and they don't know anything about a golf course. And so, you as a golf course are, we already have a one up, because they're asking me what software I use. I'm like, well, I mean, I use Golf Genius for all of my leagues and stuff. Well, they're not going to use Golf Genius because they don't have a need for it. But it's just, it's just been really interesting to me to kind of observe, all those types of things. So, but, yeah, it's been super successful. I can't wait to see what the rest of the year is going to be. It also kind of forced us to up our game as far as our restaurant is concerned. So I ended up hiring, a full-time food and beverage manager, and we have 4 kitchen assistants now, and we make absolutely killer pizza. But that's also kind of changed then how the golf course is, because now, we're allowing, the on-demand app ordering. And we have tons of simulator people and golf course people that will buy the pizza and then, take it home with them. And so it's just been kind of an interesting ride. And I'm thankful whenever I hire someone, I'm like, this is what's going on in my brain. I don't know how it's actually going to, work. And I hope you're willing to, get on this, ride with me, because it's going to be a little bumpy. And I'm fortunate because I have an awesome team. In the last year, I've hired 5 new full-time people, which is also not without challenges, because I'm trying to, teach them, the vision, and but they're all doing an awesome job, and it gets easier and easier to execute at a larger scale.
That's great. And it sounds like, it seems like to me that the vast majority of, whether it's the technology that you adopt or the marketing strategies that you implement, right, it all starts with a problem. Right, you put in Toptracer so you could become more of a year-round facility and generate revenue during the winter months. You do a crappy beer tournament to get rid of and lower your stock on beer at the end of the season. You put a fireworks show on, right, because the community wanted fireworks, and it was a way for you to kind of show your commitment to the community. And so, again, right, like you may not call it celebrated, I'll call it celebrated. You're doing incredible things for this industry. We're extremely grateful and thankful that we've had the opportunity to have you on and share some of your wisdom. I want to at least pass it back to Nicole. I know there's a couple other questions that came in, but Allison, pleasure is all mine. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. So thank you again for taking the time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
So we have a few minutes left, and there's a question that came in, but I did want to say thank you again. Seriously, everyone at Club Caddy knows you. Everyone knows your name. It's just a fun conversation every time you're brought up. So we do. We have a special place in our heart for you. It's true. We had a question from McKinsey, and it says, advice for newer, smaller courses on where to start to grow members. Is it specials on memberships, tournaments, etc.? And I kind of wanted to follow up with this. I did membership sales. That's what I did. And I wanted to kind of also add the culture being a really important part. And do you think the culture stems everything else? Or do you think that you can create urgency in specials and in tournaments to create the culture, like chicken or the egg kind of thing?
Yeah, so I actually have played around with both these kind of strategies, I guess. And I would not recommend doing specials. it's like that's a cheap man's version, and you don't usually like what you attract. You tend to attract complainers and coupon clippers who are ultimately they will be that way with absolutely everything you do. And so I would not do a sales strategy unless you did a very short-term sales strategy. So if you do a sales strategy and you're creating a sense of urgency, that works really well. For me personally, I run one sale a year on my memberships, and I do it over the 3-day weekend, starting on Black Friday, and I end it on Cyber Monday. I have I put a bunch of bumpers around it. So I only sell a set number. I only sell 50 memberships during that time period at that price. And then I'm also very strict. Like, if you're number 51, I'm really sorry. You can cry me a river about how somebody was in a hospital and you missed the blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've heard every excuse in the book. I'm like, yeah, that really does stink. But that's what I advertise. And those were the bumpers of our sale. And so scarcity 100% sells. Is the best thing that I can do for the membership would be a scarcity thing. I have noticed, so I've taken over this other golf course. And then I actually just signed a contract a couple weeks ago for another 9-hole small country club that is very member driven. And so what I have done for them is I think that members, kind of what Nicole was mentioning, I think they really like the added value. And so last year, when I started at this other golf course, I made these like beautiful membership packets in Canva, and I put a very general calendar in there. Once again, it had 6 events. And they were very simple events because I'm basically, my family's course, Toad Valley, like I've been doing this for 20 years. Like I'm rocking and rolling on it. And it doesn't take a lot of brain power, but I'm starting completely over again at these other 2 clubs. And so I'm back to doing, last year I did 5 events at Deer Run. I just planned out, the new course that I'm taking on. I just planned out its calendar, and I committed to doing, 5 things. And so commit to doing something and then make sure you execute on them. So I made these little membership packets, and the members absolutely loved it. They felt so important. And they loved like thinking about, oh, we're going to get to do this, and oh, we're going to get to do that. They really like that sense of community. I like telling people that I'm like the Tinder of golf because, I'm constantly matching up people. Especially, I've got a lot of people where like I've introduced them to their best friend, right? Because they'll say, especially women really struggle. They really want to meet other women who play golf. And so I'm always matching up with like, hey, I've got a really cute golfer here. And, I think you guys would be really good friends. Can I pair you guys together? And so then sure enough, like a month later, they're off and they're playing golf together. My brother-in-law, I had a gentleman who just moved into town, and he knew absolutely no one. And I was like, well, my brother-in-law is looking for someone to play in league with. You want to, play with him? And he's like, yeah, sure. So anyway, they're best friends. They do absolutely everything together. So it's just kind of interesting, if you kind of take your role and do that. So, but for membership, so what I would do is I would create some exclusivity of like, these are member only events. So some of the things that I did was I did a dueling pianos session. They loved that. It's really fun. I don't know if you've ever been to dueling pianos before, but that was super fun. I did some simple things like a steak night. Let's see. And then we had a couple, I did a member guest tournament, which was, they really liked that. And then we did a booze and brews, which is what I did around Halloween. And I liked it because it sounded cool. And I essentially was taking what I do at Toad Valley at the Craft Beer Open, and I just moved it to Booze and Brews, only I called it something different. Anyway, so we had, craft beer sampling and, did some fun things like that and provided these member discounts. So, create something that's kind of tangible for people to enjoy. Another thing I did is I've made a magnet, because they throw paper away, but a magnet they might stick on the refrigerator. And so a lot of those member events, once I get a nice calendar, I do that calendar and then I put it on that way I put it on a magnet, and that seems to work really well. So anyway, so if you're just getting started, what I have done at both these other two courses is I have just built a very simple, nice membership package. I also had some perks in there that don't cost me a lot, but have value to them. And so, for instance, at one, there's a driving range, and I went on ahead and just threw the driving range in for those members because they don't really use it a lot. And that felt like a kind of an upgrade to them. So they really liked that. I also, at another one, I gave a discount on golf carts. So, a lot of people, they're buying a membership, to try and, get the best deal, if you will. So kind of just pay attention to what are the amenities that you offer that, what can you do just a little bit different to make it feel like that is value to them. I'm actually pushing hard at this other course. I really want to offer like a daycare during different times, because I could hire, I don't know if I'm abnormal or not, but I could hire 14-year-olds until the cows came home. I have so many 14-year-olds that, and I mean, like I have nothing for them. I'm like, I'm sorry, you're going to have to bag groceries. Like I don't, it doesn't have a job. But I thought, man, if I could get one of those 14-year-olds to come and, watch kids for, 4 hours while someone was out playing golf, and maybe that's like a member only benefit, but, I could pay, I don't need to pay a 14-year-old a ton. And, I don't know. I haven't actually executed this. This is where my brain is. Anyway, so that's how, that's what I would do is this kind of come up with a really simple calendar, put it in a nice little pretty package, and then, kind of begin. You could even go door to door, but I cannot believe the benefit of joining these local. Every community seems to have a local Facebook group, and they are a treasure trove and so easy. I mean, all you have to do is join it, and then you share what you're doing at your club, and it's it's free, so you can't beat that.
I love it. We had two other questions come in actually just while you were answering these. So really quick, Dane, what are your thoughts on dynamic pricing throughout each day, or even weekday versus weekend pricing, early bird, twilight rates compared to having just a standard rates?
Yeah. So that's just like been really huge in the industry. Every conference I go, they're all talking about dynamic pricing. So I actually really like dynamic pricing. I have played around with it. I was using another facility, and I'm currently waiting on Club Caddy to actually execute on it. So
we'll do anything for you. So
yes, from the last couple of updates they've done, I was like, I feel like maybe they're positioning themselves toward dynamic pricing. And once they do, then I'll go back to using it. So I can tell you what I used dynamic pricing for a couple of years, and what it did to me was it taught me that people are willing to spend more than I think they are. So it used to be, and I don't know if it's because it's a family golf course or if I'm just cheap or what, but we would maybe raise our green fees like 50 cents, and we like, oh, I don't know, that's kind of, quite a bit of money, and the problem is sometimes you're only listening to, the 90-year-old man that's played at your course for 50 years. Because they're the loudest and don't want to spend any money. And so dynamic pricing, when we did it, I couldn't believe what people were willing to spend to come and play at our facility. And so that actually, so what I ended up doing while I'm waiting for Club Caddy to execute on that is I charge $5 less if they book online. And so that's what my current kind of strategy is. It's also worked really well to help, have fewer phone calls. And it helps, to build the database and get quality information. Because when they're putting in their name and phone number, it's probably accurate. Where, when I've got my kids doing it, who knows how they're going to spell like Smith, you're just like, what is this? So anyway, so that is also, if you don't do dynamic pricing, I would at the very least do that. But yeah, no, I'm a big believer in dynamic pricing, and you will be shocked how much people are willing to spend. And, because to me, it's always been silly. There's these, last minute golfer tee time websites. It's stupid. Why that should be like the most amount of money you should be spending, because anything else, when you're being last minute, you don't get rewarded for being last minute. You spend more. And so, all of the other industries are doing that, hotels and airlines and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, there you go.
I laugh. I just read an article. I'm outside of Los Angeles, and there's apparently an entire black market of tee times. That is a thing right now. And I'm like, wow, this is a change in the times of just the demand for golf and the demand for tee time, which is fantastic. But I just thought it was the most mind-blowing article that I've ever read.
You can do really weird things right now because the demand is so high. Now, for me, I try to still be respectful because I've lived through when I would have done anything for a golfer. And so I don't want to make it so that it's still, that they leave again. I try to, so you have to kind of walk that fine line of, of being affordable, because it is an expensive sport. But then also maximizing how much you're getting for that tee time. Because, once it's passed, you don't get that money back. So.
Well, and you brought up an important point that I just want to call out, right? Because I think there's a misconception in a lot of places that dynamic pricing, right, or demand-based pricing is all about reducing price, whether it's early bird, twilight, super twilight, right? When you're doing it right, and what you just mentioned, Allison, you're maximizing those peak times as well, right? Prices are going up, right, in the areas where you have the highest demand. And so just something that I wanted to call out, because again, right, when done right, when you understand your facility, your tee sheet, your availability, you're going to know it better than anybody else does, right? So, trust your gut, trust the data and what it tells you, and, don't be afraid to bump the price up a couple bucks.
And we have one other question that came in, which is, you mentioned, and I know we're over time, so for everyone sticking around, thank you so much. You mentioned your awesome pizzas. Do you all use a certain quick cook pizza oven? What's your method to get churn and burn the pizza?
You're not going to want to copy what we do. We make it all from scratch.
That's a patient head chef right there. That's a
yeah. So we were fortunate enough that we had a family who had a pizza place for years, local, and he happens to be a golfer. They closed down primarily because of COVID, and he actually shared his recipes with us. And so we make our dough from scratch, and it is time consuming. We have a pizza press, so we press we weigh it out. Once we make the dough, we weigh it out, and then you take like a ball of dough and then you put it in the press. So we have some that are for large and small. And anyway, so I thought, man, there's no way we can keep this up because it's pretty time consuming. And so we had this. When you see me again, I'm probably going to be on my 600-pound life because I have had so much pizza. Anyway, so we were sampling like all these, pre-made crusts because we were trying to make it be easier, to be able to execute, very quickly. And the homemade crust is so good. So anyway, right now we're making homemade crust. We've got 2 different dough presses, and we've got a conveyor belt pizza oven as well as a 4-plex pizza oven. And so this is kind of something that we're currently navigating of efficiencies of, how do we execute at a high level? Because right now, I personally think we'll be up to where we're making 200 to 300 pizzas a day. Just the trending that we're going right now in the off season. And so we're trying to kind of, make some, we're preparing for what will be a very, very busy year. But we also have these we got 2 different pizza prep stations. So it makes making the pizza extremely easy because, it's just all right there. And I always tell my food and beverage guy, I'm like, I need that in my house because it makes cooking so easy. But we have never offered pizza before at the golf course. We've always been primarily a snack bar place. So this is like a whole new level for us. But we sell them by the slice for the snack bar. And then at the Toptracer is really what is driving it. But now, because the pizzas are so good, we're getting more and more people who are, they come and pick it up too. So this also goes back to what I was telling you about that I'm in an unusual area of town that, I don't know if I could do, it may not work in other areas, but I've been very fortunate to be positioned where I am, where I'm like I am right on the edge of Des Moines. And so, out my window is a cornfield, and I am where the cornfields begin. So, to my back is a town. And so what it is, people that are working in Des Moines, when they're the ones driving, they live in the country, I'm their last stop. So, we have a lot of people that, grab it on their way home from work and stuff like that. So, but I can attest, you need to come and visit us just to eat the pizza because it's really good.
I'm booking my flight right now. Like I'm going to book it right now. So I have to cross your house. So I'm sorry. Allison, you've been absolutely amazing. I know we're over time and I just want to be respectful of that. But as always, your complete joy. It's such a pleasure. Such a great mind to think through. And I think we got through all the questions. And so we will be sending this out, the recording as well to everybody else. But Knight, any last words, Megan?
No, other than thank you. Yeah, next time I come back to visit my family, I will be making a stop at Toad Valley to get some of that pizza, and I'll report back on how it is.
Yes. There was, I should look up and see, there was a pizza place. We almost bought it. It was kind of like I'm trying to remember. I was trying to remember, maybe have that, whoever asked that question, have them email me and I will put them in contact. So the whole reason why we went to this pizza thing was we were looking at, it's kind of like a turnkey operation. And it actually, I think, would work really well for golf courses because they drop off like 100 frozen pizzas a week and then they bring you the toppings. It was a really good business model. So, if that person's interested, I can put you in touch with them because I think making them from scratch is definitely more difficult. And this was more turnkey. So sorry, I know you were closing up, but that was bothering me. So anyway.
All good. All good. You're always a joy. Thank you, Allison.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
So much. And thank you everyone else who stuck around and we're going to have you back on. Just know we're going to come back after you. So
yeah. Well, next time I'll have to share my screen with you and actually I'll walk through how I execute my Asana project task list.
That is a fantastic next topic. I love it. Thank you so much. All right. We'll see everyone. Bye.
Thanks.